Paul Foster-Bell.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. And just to advise you, sir, this is a split call with my colleague, and may I request a ballot 4 minutes?
You will have a ballot 4 minutes.
Thank you very much, sir. It's very kind of you. Sir, in speaking, I'm not on the Social Services Select Committee of Parliament, but I specifically asked if I might take a call on this bill, and our very gracious whip granted me that privilege because of a personal interest that I have in this particular subject. But I want to begin by getting on to that by congratulating the member Tracy Martin. She's a member who I have enormous respect for, and she's brought a matter before the House which is of great significance to the 12,000 or so families where they have a situation of kin carers caring for family members. Now, we've heard from colleagues that 6,000 or so of those particular families are grandparents caring for their own grandchildren, and my family fits into that particular situation. My parents, relatively late in their life when they thought they'd got beyond caring for children, once we'd grown up and left home, found themselves in a situation where my little brother ended up having an accidental pregnancy situation with his girlfriend, and they stepped up and took responsibility for that when my brother wasn't able to. So I've got a beautiful niece who is now nearly an adult herself, who has had succeeded in life and had the best possible opportunities because she was fortunate enough to have grandparents who could step in when her parents weren't able to take the sort of responsibility that's needed for a child. So can I congratulate the member Tracy Martin for bringing this measure forward, because it's something which we on this side of the House do agree with. We agree with the intent, and I'm very grateful for the member in the constructive way she's worked with government ministers to actually enable this bill to be able to be implemented. So, in terms of the implementation date, we've heard some rather spurious arguments from some that we're somehow trying to hold this up. Whether this bill is passed today or tomorrow or in a week or in a month, it actually takes effect on the 1st of July 2018, and that is to ensure parity and alignment with other measures, including school and year start-up payments, which may no longer be available at that stage. So well done, Tracy Martin, for taking the initiative and bringing this before us. The $10 million capped fund that we introduced via the white paper on vulnerable children measures, we believe that these changes are able to be done within a fiscally responsible cap, and that's on top of all the other support that this government's providing to vulnerable children, including the $790 million extra benefit payments to those children who are the very most vulnerable. But something of particular relevance to grandparents that I would point to, and that's been the significant increases in superannuation available to them over this term of the government. In fact, since 2008, we've had more than a 30% increase in the rate of national super, and just this week there will be an $11 per week increase for married couples, $7.59 for individuals on national super. But there has been, over the course of this government, a 30% increase, way in advance of the 15% increase in the cost of living over the same time. So this is one measure which actually adds to some of those others which we on this side of the House have been working on. It does bring parity for kin carers and in particular grandparents. I'm delighted for that. And it does address some of those issues that children face when they already have the stigma attached of being an orphan. Now, I and many members of this House, I'm sure, don't attach a stigma to being an orphan. It's something beyond the control of any child, whether their parents have passed away or have been imprisoned or simply haven't been able to take the responsibility to care for their children, as the vast majority of parents in New Zealand do. There are additional stigmas that can be attached. For instance, if they've been brought up by grandparents who don't have the financial means to give them the fashionable clothes, to give them the treats in their lunchbox that the other kids have at school, to allow them to go on the music trip, the sports trip, to play the part that we want all young New Zealanders to play, to grow up to be strong and productive, contributing citizens to our great country. And for these reasons, sir, I think this is an excellent bill. Tracy Martin is to be congratulated once again, and I commend it to the House.